everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of News for Normies. I am your host, Millennial Meditations, bringing you some important news in a short time frame. If you enjoy this content and maybe learn something new from this video, hit that like button, share with your friends. And if you're on YouTube, I'm not entirely sure how to do this, but I saw news. There's a new hype function where you can essentially promote smaller content creators to boost them in the algorithm. So if you see that, I would greatly appreciate if you do that, as I'm trying to reach, the general masses, if you will. So go follow me on all the socials. Those are down below. As always, references are down below so you can see what I'm talking about. And that way, I am not just, making stuff up out of thin air. So with that being said, one quick announcement, go follow me on Twitch. I'm planning a video game live stream tomorrow around noon Eastern Standard Time. So my username is down there. Go follow me on there because that's going to come into play later on in this video. So now into the news. Last weekend was Labor Day weekend, and since not a whole lot was going on, leftists had to create their own drama. And they were spreading a rumor, mainly on X, that Trump was dead over Labor Day weekend. And their proof of this was that he hadn't been seen in a couple days, and pointed out a bruise on his hand that you can see here. In reality, Trump probably just took a couple days off, and the bruise is either from shaking hands with people all the time, and I've heard that he has a very, very strong grip strength, so given that and his age, probably that, or maybe from something like like an IV injection site, maybe he went and got some blood work done and it was just bruised up or something, I don't know. But as you have seen, Trump is very much alive, as shown here.
No, I heard that. I get reports. Now, you knew I did an interview that lasted for about an hour and a half with somebody, and everybody saw that was on one of your competitors. I did numerous shows, and also did a number of truths, long truths, and I think pretty poignant truths. No, I was very active over the weekend. They also knew I went out to visit some people at the club that I own pretty nearby on the Potomac River. And no, I've been very active, actually, over the weekend. I didn't hear that one. That's pretty serious stuff.
I'm glad it's
well, it's fake news. It's just it's so fake. That's why the media has so little credibility. I knew they were saying, like, is he okay? How's he feeling? What's wrong? I said, I just left. And it's also sort of a longer weekend, it's Labor Day weekend. So I would say a lot of people know I was very active this Labor Day. I had heard that, but I didn't hear it to that extent.
So it's funny that he calls that a hoax, as it rightfully is, because he's very much alive. But that is going to segue perfectly into our next segment. Speaking of hoaxes, the DOJ was essentially forced to release over 30,000 files about Jeffrey Epstein. But as we've seen so far, nothing of substance has really been released. However, when recently asked about it, Trump said the following.
Mr. President, right now, there have been survivors of Jeffrey Epstein speaking at a press conference on Capitol Hill. They're calling for these case files, these documents to be released. And Thomas Massey, who is sponsoring a discharge of physicians who get the House to vote on releasing those documents, says he doesn't believe you're implicated in these files, but many of your friends and donors may be, and he says that's why the Justice Department is redacting them and slow-walking the release. Is the Justice Department protecting any friends or donors, sir?
So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. It reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given. But it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president. Even if you look at D.C. right now, D.C., it's a totally safe zone. It's called a safe zone. That's a term. It's a term of art. It's a safe zone because it's very safe. You can walk down the street now and nothing's going to happen. No crime, no murders, no nothing. Because we had a lot of problems with certain places, and we still do, all run by Democrats, or for the most part run by Democrats. So what they're trying to do with the Epstein hoax is get people to talk about that instead of speaking about the tremendous success like ending 7 wars. I ended 7 wars. Nobody's going to talk about because they're going to talk about the Epstein whatever. Sir, I understand that we were subpoenaed to give files, and I understand we've given thousands of pages of files. And I know that no matter what you do, it's going to keep going. And I think it's enough, because I think we should talk about the greatness of our country and the success that we're having. I think we're probably having, according to what I read, even from 2 people in this room, we're having the most successful 8 months of any president ever. And that's what I want to talk about. That's what we should be talking about, not the Epstein hoax.
When are you going to make a decision on Ukraine, Mr. President?
Now, I understand why he keeps calling it the Epstein hoax, as Democrats have really only latched onto this since Trump took office again, and their claim is that he was doing heinous shit to kids alongside Jeffrey Epstein. But in reality, he needs to quit calling it the Epstein hoax, as it only makes this look worse. He touted about the great success that we've had and all this stuff. When you call it the Epstein hoax, Mr. President, you're taking 2 steps forward with all the other stuff you're doing, and then you're shooting yourself in the foot and have to take a mile back, because now that's all that people are going to talk about. So quit calling it the Epstein hoax. Now, we have a major plot twist in all of this, as last night, Friday, September 5th of 2025, House Speaker Mike Johnson just casually dropped this bombshell on the news.
He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago.
That is the first I'm hearing it. So I imagine that come Monday, everybody's going to be talking about that. So you heard it here first. Also, as I've said before, if there was anything incriminating about Trump in regards to Epstein, the Biden administration would have released that stuff during the campaign season to tank Trump, and they didn't. So I really think that people need to quit trying to rope Trump in with the Epstein stuff, but it's weird. Additionally, several victims of Epstein held a press conference to discuss the release of the files, as you see here.
Transparency is justice. Release the files, end the secrecy, and stand with us in declaring that no one, no billionaires, no politicians, not world leaders, is above the law. And let me announce now, several of us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list of names. We know the names. Many of us were abused by them. Now together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know were regularly in the Epstein world. And it will be done by survivors and for survivors. No one else is involved. Stay tuned for more details on that. Because history is watching, and so are the women who will come after us. Thank you.
But coincidentally, during the press conference, a few F-16 fighter jets held a flyover during this press conference.
I was horrified when I found out not only had Ghislaine Maxwell been transferred to what's called a low security. It's really is like a holiday camp, and then afterwards I got a notification from the Department of Justice telling me that this was going to happen when it had already happened. This woman abused by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell for over 10 years. Ghislaine Maxwell was present for some of my abuse at the hand of Jeffrey Epstein. She was present, she was complicit, she was enabling, and it is appalling and disgusting. And it's one of my worst nightmares that she not only be transferred, but at the possibility that's very much going around that she might be pardoned. This is not okay, guys. This is not okay.
And I just want to add that I think it sends a very dangerous message to our country, to the young people in our country, that someone that we all know is aware of these crimes could be given a pass.
And just for the last survivor who just spoke, the last survivor who just spoke, she said that Epstein would brag about her relationship with Donald Trump. Could she please elaborate about that?
Shante.
Get to the microphone.
Get close.
Yeah, I did say that. My first trip to the Palm Beach residence, I drove there from the airport with Ghislaine Maxwell, and Jeffrey and Ghislaine were always very boastful about their friends,
The timing of this flyover is very interesting to me, and it still seems to me like Trump wants to keep this covered up for reasons like Thomas Massey states, and has stated before.
I think it's shameful that this has been called a hoax. Hopefully today we can clear that up. This is not a hoax. This is real. There are real survivors. There are real victims to this criminal enterprise. And the perpetrators are being protected because they're rich and powerful and political donors to the establishment here in Washington, D.C.
So that's all I got on this Epstein segment of this week, but we're going to move on to some good news. Trump will send the National Guard into Chicago, Baltimore, and other big cities to help deal with the rampant crime rates there.
Mind up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks, and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called D.C., District of Columbia, right here where we are. It's now a safe zone. We have no crime. It's in such great shape. You can go and actually walk with your children, your wife, your husband. You can walk right down the middle of the street. You're not going to be shot, Peter. You're safe. Everyone likes you anyway. They probably wouldn't do it. But it's so dangerous. And there are people in this audience that you've suffered greatly. There are people in this audience that have been mugged and hurt badly, and they don't want to talk about it. Maybe you were very brave in talking about it. You made quite an impression on a lot of people. I appreciate it. But there were other people in this room that have been hurt very badly just walking down the street in D.C. Washington, D.C. is a safe zone right now. It's a safe city. The restaurants are open. They're booming. You can't get a restaurant. New restaurants are announcing that they're going to be open. This took place in 12 days. Now it's 15 days, but 3 days ago it became what's known as a safe zone. It's a safe city. And this city was really bad, really, really bad. We took 1,600 people out, hardcore criminals that will not be coming back anytime soon. And we're very proud of it. To have our nation's capital lose every week, it was like years, many years, where every single week somebody was killed for many, many, many consecutive weeks. This went on for years. And then we had, last week it was announced that nobody was killed last week. And I made that announcement in front of a very distinguished leader of a country. And I'm saying proudly, ladies and gentlemen, nobody was killed in Washington, D.C. this week. He looked at me like, what's that all about? I say, yeah, we have a little bit of a crime problem, and we don't have a crime problem in Washington anymore. And the mayor has been very helpful, and the police commissioner has been very helpful, and it's been a great team. And I would love to have Governor Pritzker call me. I'd gain respect for him and say, we do have a problem, and we'd love you to send in the troops, because you know what? the people, they have to be protected. I saw today on one of your networks, not a friendly network, except really the opposite, I would say, very unfriendly network. And they interviewed about 12 people on this morning. Most of them were African American, who were black. And they were saying, please, please, please let the president send in. These were people from Chicago. Please, we need help. We need help. We can't walk outside. We're petrified. If the governor of Illinois would call me up, I would love to do it. Now, we're going to do it anyway. We have the right to do it because I have an obligation to protect this country. And that includes Baltimore. I saw where Governor Moore was asking me to take a walk down the street of Baltimore. Well, Baltimore is a very unsafe place. It's rated number 4 in the city, one of the most unsafe places anywhere in the world. But, you know, we took care. This was a beautiful thing that happened in Washington because we showed that it could be done. And this wasn't just sending big, strong guys, and they are big and they are strong. You know, we had a great decision from the Supreme Court that had to do with sort of talent. It had to do with you are put down based on merit. You can hire based on merit. So merit for a soldier or for a policeman is strong, physically fit, having a certain ability, not a person that is woke and got the job through woke, but wasn't strong enough to lift a gun out of the holster, et cetera, et cetera. No, I looked at the police. As you know, last week I went over, we had a meeting with, there had to be 300 people, and they were all very impressive looking. And when the bad guys see them, they're not going to do a thing. And so I'm very proud of Washington. It serves as a template, and we're going to do it elsewhere. But Chicago is certainly going to be high. I would love to have him call. I would love the governor of Illinois. I'd be honored to take his call. All he has to do is say, sir, we need help. It's out of control. And everyone knows it is. He's not kidding anyone. I would love to have, I would say, Governor Moore call, because I watched him over the weekend trying to explain that Baltimore, what they need is housing. No, they don't need housing. They need to get rid of the criminals. These are hardcore criminals. You know, we took many people off the streets of Washington, D.C. They're hardcore. They're not going to be good. In 10 years, in 20 years, in 2 years, they're going to be criminals. They were born to be criminals, frankly. They were born to be criminals, and they're tough and mean, and they'll cut your throat, and they won't even think about it the next day. They won't even remember that they did it. And we're not going to have those people. Washington, D.C. is now a safe zone. It's a safe place. And you can walk, Katie, you can walk right down the street with, by the way, one of the biggest human beings I've ever seen, which is her husband. He was a football player for like 11 years in the NFL. He's a big person. But big doesn't mean anything when they have guns and when they have knives and everything else that they have, right? But you can walk right down the street, even by yourself, and you're totally safe. Washington, D.C. is a great thing. Yes, ma'am.
And of course, like I stated last week, Democrats are crying about this, claiming it's fascist and he's a dictator and blah, blah, blah. But as I've said before, when you let your city go to shit, something has to change. But don't take it from me, though, as I live in a pretty safe city myself. Listen to people like this woman here.
Of course, now you have Chicago politicians bragging, talking about, no, the crime is down, the crime is down. Maybe by fucking Whole Foods where you shop, but not in the south side of Chicago, where people are still ducking and dodging bullets and can't even check their goddamn mail. This is what I was saying 2 weeks ago when I said these democratic cities invest in crime. And every liberal in my comment section was like, you said the wrong word, you said the method, you did the method, you said the method, it's not a method. They're investing in crime. There's no progress. They want the crime to fucking continue. That's obvious. Talking about you're investing positively in the communities. You're investing in fucking excuses. You have communities like Westside where there's people who are purposely going out asking for help. Asking for help. Trump said the other day, there's a beautiful African-American woman coming to me, asking me like, hey, can you please come help us in Chicago? We need help. Crime is at an all-time high. Please help us. Governor's like, oh, no, we're okay. The mayor's like, don't send help. How dare you? We don't need no help. Let the crime continue. Let the crime continue. The gaslighting is at an all-time high. You are willing to put your community at risk because you hate Trump that fucking bad. No, what's going to happen is he's going to call out your fucking mismanagement. He's going to call out your fucking bullshit. He's going to call out your corruption. That's what he's doing. These democratic cities think this is some type of game. Every time a criminal is in jail, they're like, oh, you're fucking racist. Every time the National Guard comes in to fucking sweep the shit up, oh, that's illegal. Yet and still, you got the community out here, please, please help us. We need help. We want to live. We're tired of dodging fucking bullets. Trying to bamboozle the public. We know the truth. The communities are speaking for themselves. We couldn't care less what's on the goddamn paper. You democratic cities are trash, and you continuously invest in fucking crime.
So there you have it. People that actually live in these areas want something to change, when it comes to crime, because people are getting fed up with Democrat policies just allowing crime to run rampant. And speaking of crime, this one was great. The U.S. destroyed a boat in the Caribbean Sea that was transporting cocaine from Venezuela to America, as you see here. Now, a lot of lefties were like, oh, it was just a tiny little boat. It was a canoe. It didn't have that much drugs. Da-da-da-da-da-da. From what I've heard, that little canoe was carrying over 6,000 pounds of cocaine, more than likely laced with fentanyl. So, get fucked on that argument. But this comes after the Trump administration mobilized several warships around Central and South America to deal with the drug trafficking coming into America. And this also happened just before Marco Rubio traveled to Mexico and Ecuador for talks on combating violent cartels in the region. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has called for citizens to enlist in the militia in his country, but let's be honest here, they wouldn't stand a chance against the U.S. military. Okay. Now, I can hear the argument already, oh, well, we were in the Middle East for 20 years, and, dudes in flip-flops and rusty AKs took us on. Yeah, but that was because of shitty leadership, too, and that's why things ended the way it did. If the hounds were let off the leashes, that place would have looked like a parking lot. Okay, no doubt about that. Also, see what we did to Iran? Case closed. Now, here is my conspiracy theory with Venezuela. Hence the tinfoil top hat this week. I believe, and this is just my own conspiracy theory, I believe that Trump wants to remove Maduro from power in Venezuela to then install a friendlier leader in order to buy more oil from Venezuela. However, this kind of doesn't hold up because the U.S. has imported more oil in the last 2 years compared to 2 years prior to that. So I'm not sure how much weight this theory holds. Also, we've seen how regime change usually works when the U.S. gets involved. It usually doesn't work all that well. So we'll see what happens. Quick side note, whatever happened to the whole drill baby drill of producing our own oil? Thought that was the thing that was going to happen. Still waiting on that. Anyway, moving on. Trump has expanded the no tax on tips that was in the big beautiful bill to online content creators such as YouTubers and Twitch gamers, up to $25,000. So I imagine this will cause a boom in content creators like myself, even though I'm not making any money off of this yet. If anybody is watching and would like to sponsor, I would be open to it, but I'm not to that level yet. So if you're watching, go share this with your normies, because your boy needs some sponsors. But this goes back to what I was talking about at the top of the video. Go follow me on Twitch if you want to see some more gaming content. As I said, I'm planning on doing a live stream tomorrow, so go follow me over there. All the socials are right down there, somewhere in there in the, description of the video. Now, moving on. This is another story that kind of caught some steam this week. The DOJ wants to ban transgender people from owning guns after the shooting in Minneapolis. This puts the left in a very funny position should they take it to the Supreme Court. If the left supports trans people owning guns, they would essentially be defending gun rights. But if they don't do that, they're essentially abandoning transgender people. So, kind of puts them between a rock and a hard place, but the same argument could be held on the right as well, just kind of on the inverse of that. Now, when I first heard about this, I initially agreed with the DOJ stance here. However, after giving it more thought, if we start chipping away at gun rights for a specific group of people, eventually the government will find a reason to disarm you. You know, eventually they'll claim that their experts have deemed that people who question the government are mentally ill and shouldn't own guns, and then there you go. If you want proof of this, see 2020. Like, we trusted the experts on all the COVID shit, and look how that turned out. So therefore, I do not agree with this, and I think the solution to this problem still remains the same. We need less soft targets. On that note, my home state of Ohio has been addressing this for a few years now, as Ohio is one state of several that allows teachers and staff to carry firearms on school property. This has been a law in the books since 2023, but out of all of the school districts in the country, in the state, both public, charter, and private schools, only 97 school districts have armed personnel in them. So this is a good start, but those are rookie numbers, and we need to bump those numbers up. If you disagree with me, you're wrong. You're wrong. Sorry, you're just wrong. Because you can try to ban all guns, but there are over 400 million guns in circulation in the U.S. that we know of. Good luck getting every last one of them. So, also, quick side note, I know I heard a lot of smoke about RFK Jr. and getting grilled by Congress and, you know, people threatening to quit at the HHS and CDC. I really didn't have enough time to look into that, so I will try to look into that a little bit more for next week. There's just a lot of videos circulating of essentially screaming matches between RFK and people like Elizabeth Warren and other people like that. So if you're on X, you can go find that stuff too. But anyway, moving on. If you think you hate the corporate media enough, you don't, because NBC is still in business, sadly. And that shitty network essentially apologized for misgendering the Catholic school shooter. When they originally wrote about the shooting, they used male pronouns to describe the shooter, which is accurate because he was born male, therefore he used male pronouns. But later, NBC corrected the article by switching to female pronouns. And I have a link to this down below. You can go read it for yourself. So if you prioritize psychos instead of the victims, you are on the wrong side of this issue. Full stop. Don't care. Kids died, and you are showing respect to the shooter. What the fuck is wrong with you, NBC? You all should be ashamed of yourselves. Down to the person who's getting your coffee in the morning. Just blows my fucking mind. Anyway, moving on. A Mexican festival called El Grito was canceled in Chicago over fears of ICE raids. From what I have seen, I could be wrong on this, this festival was in celebration of Mexico's independence. So they're holding a Mexican Independence Parade festival in Chicago, which isn't in Mexico. I find it odd. Find it very odd that a Mexican Independence Festival is being held anywhere in the United States, especially in Chicago. It's not even close to the border with Mexico. So if you love Mexico that much, go live there. It's right there. You know what a map is. You have Google Maps on your phone that you probably got for free from taxpayer money, so you're welcome, by the way. And as Tim Pool recently stated, the organizers of this festival should probably be investigated for potentially facilitating illegal immigration into the United States, as that is a crime. If you had to cancel a festival over fears of ICE raids, that's kind of self-incrimination in, the public eye. So we'll see what happens there. But speaking of ICE raids, a Hyundai plant in Georgia was raided and over 400 people were detained.
Calling y'all. Line them up on the wall. We ain't no criminals.
All yours. Warrant for this entire construction site, okay? We're Homeland Security. We have a search warrant for the whole site. We need construction to cease immediately. We need all work to end on the site right now.
So I just heard about this morning. I don't know all of the details on this. So it appears to me that this plant was under construction, to which progress on the building was halted. But when you break the law, there are consequences. And one would ask why illegal aliens were needed for construction when Americans could have been hired for this work. Inquiring minds want to know. And I can already hear the South Park clip. They took their job. I was trying to find a video clip of that, but I couldn't find one, so my apologies there. Now, this next video, and we're moving out of the U.S. into international news here. This video, I believe, was from sometime last year, but it will be a layup for the next story. Canadian police tell people to just comply with home intruders and leave your keys by the front door because all they want is your car, and they don't want to come in and rape your children or anything. So don't take it from me, take it from the Canadian police themselves.
In the unlikely event that you find yourself the victim of a home invasion, we are urging citizens not to take matters into their own hands. While we don't want homeowners to feel powerless, we urge you to call 911 and do everything you can to keep yourself and loved ones safe until police arrive, and be the best witness possible. This could mean locking yourself in a room away from the perpetrators, hiding, fleeing the home, but don't engage unless absolutely necessary. But as it stands, we know the best defense for most people is to comply, as you've just heard, a number of safety recommendations.
So, Mr. Policeman, this is incorrect, as another transgender psychopath was recently arrested for trying to break into a home and sexually assault a child. If this happened in the U.S., I promise you, depending on what state this was in, if this happened in the United States, I promise you this demon would have been filled with lead. And if you wonder who I'm talking about, here's a picture of this deranged psychopath here. Yeah, so... Quick side note, I couldn't help but think that this dude looks like the singer from Danzig. Very uncanny, if I had to say so myself. But anyway, and kind of going back a little bit to what I was talking about earlier with Trump and the National Guard and stuff, Canada has also seen a rise in crime rates over the last several years, yet again showing that soft on crime policies only allow criminals to roam free in society and innocent people suffer. So, Canada, you need to get your shit together too. And finally, we are going to end in the UK with these last two stories. A British woman named Sarah White was jailed for flying the British flag. This came after she was vocalizing her discontent with the British government, and you can see in this clip here where she was arrested.
Sarah, what you gonna say? What you wanna say? I want the country to see this. This is an unlawful arrest. I was standing on the steps of the council from the stairs. No! No, you don't! No! No! The flag of Great Britain! Been pushed for no reason. Elon, help me out! The police are fucking them out! Exactly. We're not in the way. No, we're far enough away. We're far enough away. Sorry, could you step back a little bit? Give them that space. Yes, well, I know. All for waving the Union Jack or Union flag.
So when flying the flag of your own country is a crime, your nation has fallen. Just saying. Like, I've also heard recently that many more people in the UK are flying the flag of Britain as basically a middle finger to the government, as they've essentially just rolled over and let just anything go. So hopefully this woman gets a lot more attention and some things change in the UK. Because I can tell that a lot of people are getting fed up with this. I know Tommy Robinson is a prominent figure too, has been talking about this problem for a while. So if you don't know who Tommy Robinson is, well, congratulations, you're on the internet. You can go find him too. And finally, comedy writer Graham Linehan, I think is how you pronounce it, is also facing legal troubles in the UK for posting anti-trans tweets. Police claim that he was inciting violence by his posts, and you can see those here. Let me find them. All right. So he posted this tweet that says, if a trans-identified male is in a female-only space, he is committing a violent, abusive act. Make a scene, call the cops, and if all else fails, punch him in the balls. And then this tweet here, he posted this picture of some sort of rally or protest. A photo you can smell. Now, I'm not entirely sure if that was a large gathering of Middle Eastern folk or not, but again, it's funny. If you don't know who this guy is, and I didn't know until I looked it up a little bit, he's written for comedy shows like Father Ted, the IT Crowd, and other sitcoms. So he's written for a lot of comedy things. But regardless, this is just another example of how freedom of speech is non-existent outside the United States. So if you claim that America is so horrible for this or that, your argument is automatically invalid because you can criticize whomever you want without fear of legal repercussions. As it stands now. If we allow, Democrat communists to gain complete control, I promise you they will enact hate speech laws, and people like myself will probably go to jail because homie don't play that shit. So that's all I've got this week, folks. Go follow me on the socials. Again, I'm planning a live stream on Twitch tomorrow as I record this, so go follow me over there. Hit the like button, share, hype, whatever, help me out here with the algorithm boost. And take care. I will see you all next week. Thank you.